I do. I did 3 records in my techno-industrial mess. I did Leading Horses, Burn in Hell, Love Me Forever. I have 3 records in my acapella. I have Monsters and High-Risk Sexual Behavior that is sort of finished. And another record coming up that I'll be performing the songs in the spring at the Fringe Festival. Then I have these 3 records. I just did 3 records worth of songs in like less than 50 minutes. This is an easy gig. Even though one of the records is really an EP. I think they're all like EPs. I think even the ones with 10 songs come in under a half hour. And I think anything under a half hour isn't considered a real record anymore. But industry be damned, I'm going to do what I want to do. Anyway, tell me what to do. I want to make sure this is off. No, see, I didn't turn it off. So, let's see. There's a really important story I wanted to tell about, or I was going to speak on tonight. I have no idea what it was. Go figure. Go figure. Well, once upon a time, there was a lovely lady named Hannah. Hannah wanted a baby so bad, but much like many women in the Bible who end up with stories that preachers preach about down the line, she was barren. Such weird words for what women can and can't do. Actually, they have such weird words for what women have and have not, and are not. A whole bunch of them. That'll be my next project. I'm going to make a list. I saw a really cool, like, black velvet, black light poster of all the names of Jesus. I'm going to do that about all the nice words we've come up to describe our women. But this woman was best described as barren. But she prayed to the Lord for a child, and the priest of the temple, Eli, thought she was drunk because women rarely spoke in and around the temple. So she was speaking under her breath. So she, he caught a kind of a thing and thought she was toasted. And he says, "Hey woman, you're toasted." She's like, "Oh no, you don't. Don't you dare call me toasted. I am praying to God for a child, damn it." So he says, "Well, there you go. As you wish, I pray too. May God grant you a child." And lo and behold, guess who gets to have a baby? But what she said under her breath that only the Lord heard was, "If you give me a child, I will consecrate him unto you. I will, much like Samson, never take a razor to his head. He will be set aside for the service of the Lord." So, she was with child. She had a bouncing baby boy. She named him Samuel. And then she dropped him off at the temple for childcare. Permanent 18 years of childcare. Yeah, she gave him to the temple. She gave him to Eli. She goes, "Here's your damn baby." No, she said, "Here, I'm giving him to you. You train him in the temple." Now, Samuel is a very pivotal man in the Bible because he is the last judge over Israel. And he is the first of the prophets. The biggies. Samuel's huge. This was an amazing, mighty man of God. His mother prayed him into existence and dedicated him entirely to the temple. Not just raised him for God and made him the best dreidel player at Hanukkah, but literally gave him to the temple for spiritual service. And in thus doing, fulfilled her oath to God. Can you imagine what the other kids said to him? Your mom got one look at you and just dropped you off with Eli. That's not true. I'm set aside for God. No, your mom didn't want you. Imagine what his life was like. But he grew up to be an exemplary man of God. And when it was time for his parents to come for their weekly sacrifices at the temple, they would stand in line with their goats and their lambs, and they would present their offerings. Eli, the priest, would say to them, "We are so grateful for that which you have loaned to God." I love what he says to them. What you've loaned to God. Well, it's not really a loan because we gave them to God. We ain't coming back for them. I don't think that was the spirit of what they did. This is just coming from a single parent having a hard day. That's the tone. But I think they actually loved their child and wanted their bouncing baby boy. She would cry all the time because she couldn't have a child, and her husband would say, "Aren't I better than a whole flock of children?" And she was like, "Well, that's easy for you to say because you have like 16 wives, and they're all pumping out kids." But she wanted that child. She made a deal with God. She gave it to the Lord. And Eli referred to it as something she had loaned to God. Very beautiful imagery, very beautiful poetry here. And I think there's a killer sermon about if you pray for God to give you a child, and he gives you a child, make good on your promise to raise your child for the Lord. Isn't it a lot easier to drop him off at the temple, by the way, than to actually get your child to be raised for the Lord? You can keep it at home, you can cut his hair funny, you can homeschool him all you want. But if his last name is Menendez, he's still going to do what he's decided to do. You know, you can't make a child be anything. You can only pray for a child and teach a child by your example and by the Word of God and by the example and fellowship of others. But when you fail at all that, thank God some people get to drop them off with God. Here, you raise the damn things. There would be a great sermon in here about how we're supposed to raise our children. How they're on loan to us to raise for God. But we have to give that gift back to God. And then it's a mutual gift society. And this is much what you will hear at a really good baptism or a really good baby dedication, a teaching like that. There's also a killer sermon in if you pray for God for that job, for that husband, for that ministry, give it to God and make it something that God would have raised and produced and put light and love in. Don't hog it to yourself. There's a great sermon somewhere in there about that. The one that I saw was that comment. Gosh, I loved the comment. Thanks for loaning him to us. You know, thanks, you know, you go to work every day and you have a Christmas party and you bring your wife and you're standing there with your wife and the people at work go, you know, we love him so much. Thank you for loaning him to us 8 hours a day. Thanks for letting us have him 8 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? But I think Eli was really saying something a little bit more than that. I think he was saying, this is an investment for all of us. You loaned him to God, not because you dropped him off at the temple, but because you made good on your oath and you really have consecrated your child to be a servant of the Most High God. And what will come of it is so amazing. We have him for a short time. The world has him for a short time. But in his life and after his life and in the books written about him, he will touch countless lives. In fact, he will touch every life. Every life. Samuel touched every life that ever existed from the day he was born till tomorrow and then on. For all time. Amazing. Amazing. We talk about creeps like Adam and heroes like Moses and Paul and of course Jesus, that guy. But here we have Samuel. And God loaned Jesus to the world for a specific purpose. There's a great sermon sitting right there. Okay, I've come up with 5 really good ideas so far. If you go back and count, it sounds like 4, but I said 2 and 1 at one time. I've come up with 5. But the one that just screams at me is very selfish on my part and a little bit biased on my part. Let me tell you. When I was 19, I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I've never turned back. I didn't write that song, but I found that song, and I said, I have to do it, because I know what it's about. I know it's like, God, you just got your hook in me, and I can't turn back. Yeah, I wasn't perfect. I'm not perfect. I've really never thought much about striving for perfect. But I'm in relationship with Jesus, and it's never changed. I've never doubted it. I've doubted me, but I've never doubted him or his existence or what he was doing in my life. Because I know what it's like to go 19 years and never taste ice cream. And suddenly get ice cream for the first time and go, wow, 19 years without this? No way. No way. That's not really true. Of course, I had ice cream my whole life. I was just comparing Jesus to ice cream times infinity. But you understand that ice cream exists whether you've heard of it or not. Ice cream exists whether you've tasted it or not. And ice cream is wonderful no matter how many idiots say they don't like it. Doesn't change the truth. Let me give you an example. I was at a frozen yogurt shop. And there was some weird thing you could put in your frozen yogurt. And a guy was putting it in his frozen yogurt. And I took a piece of it. And I said, what is this? And he goes, I have no idea, but I dream about it at night because it's so good. And I put it in my mouth and I go, oh my God, this is so good. This is so good. God, it reminds me of something. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. So I asked the lady who was working there, I go, what is this stuff? She said, it's rice candy. Now, anyone who's had rice candy knows exactly what I'm saying. Yikes. There's nothing on the planet tastes like it. There's a million examples you could use to explain what it might be like. But it's pretty incredible stuff. And it makes you stop thinking about everything in the universe except what's in your mouth. And I would call it, in the best and most positive of light, the smelling salt of candy. It's like, wow, I have eaten so much candy in my life, there's nothing like this. Nothing like this at all. And you can get it at any Asian market. And it's good. And it comes wrapped in rice paper that you also eat. And that's really cool. It's like cellophane that dissolves in your mouth, and all of a sudden you've got this sweet, strange, gummy gooiness. Oh, it's fabulous. I've just equated Jesus to 2 food groups now. And you either have had rice candy or you have not. But it doesn't change whether it exists. And you can call red vines rice candy, which I also like, by the way, but it ain't. You can call red vines, even though they're the black ones in the box, and those taste like caca. They're not red vines. Every single thing has its own identity in our lives. so does God, and his name's Jesus. And when you meet Jesus and you haven't known him, and you haven't been to church, and you haven't had him shoved down your throat, or you haven't had a mediocre, lukewarm, lazy, pansy-ass example of him, or anything in between, damn, he's good. And the psalmist says, taste and see that the Lord is good. I love that because, again, I really, really find a lot of power and authority by equating Jesus to things in the food family. Because everybody gets it the minute you say it. The minute you say something that everybody loves, and you go, now, can you say that a turkey sandwich is the same thing as a banana split? Then why the hell do we have God getting any name we feel like putting on him? It's a perfect example. But as a convert, as a Jesus hater who meets Jesus because he hated him, because he never tried him and never tasted him and saw that he was yummy, and tasted him for the first time and went, hot dang! Hot dang, this stuff's good. There was no question. I had rice candy. But yeah, I had things I didn't like herring. Who eats herring? My people eat herring. There's no wonder why God had to convert us. So, no, but really, I mean, it's gross. It comes in a jar. It's gross. Don't like herring. Well, whether I like it or not, it exists. And I can call it caca, but that's not really its name. That's my nickname. But it's herring. It has its own specific identity. But if you've ever tried herring out of a bottle, you know exactly what you just ate. Oh, another one, chopped liver. If you've had it, whether you like it or not, man, it is what it is. You've met chopped liver. And you know exactly what you think about it. I met Jesus. I know exactly who he is. I know exactly what I thought of him. Hand in glove. I thought he was fabulous. I thought he was perfect. I thought he was God. I was saved. Never doubted that. Doubted me. Doubted my choices. Still doubt me. Still doubt my choices. I've been watching my videos. But I never once questioned him. And I've never once, watered him down to justify me or you. I've just said people do what people do. Let's be honest. Let's be adults about this. But let's not, change Jesus over this. Let's not change the Bible over this. So for me, after 19 years of turning my nose up at ice cream like an idiot, and then tasting it for the first time, and going crazy and eating it constantly and living on it, I knew the difference in my life. I think that very few people really have a born-again experience outside of the converts. Because people raised in Christianity or Catholicism have been touched by it, exposed to it, and lived in it their whole lives. But somehow, some way, the convert goes from not knowing how to swim to being an Olympic athlete overnight. And as a strong swimmer, I think that's a lousy example because I've been swimming my entire life. But I really want to dance. I watched So You Think You Can Dance, and I tried this stuff, okay? And I can do 3 things. I don't try anything that involves me being upside down, by the way. I do the Broadway hands, and I can get the walks down, I have dance training. I suck. I'm terrible. I am what they call a person who moves well. I move well. So I could go to a club and people say, "Oh, you're a really good dancer." But if I went on an audition for chorus line, I would not make it past 10 minutes. I've been on dance auditions in my life where you are on your feet for 8 hours without a break. And you go home and your toes bleeding. And I know who's good and who's not. But to wake up one day and be able to do ballet flawlessly, you know, I would know the difference. But I'm not sure a lot of Christians know the difference. And I've spent the last 28 years judging my fellow brothers and sisters for not being as excited about this newfound ice cream of mine. Well, I'm not done judging, you know. I'm just, you know, assuming I'm a sinner and I love it. But what I am growing in awareness of was, it wasn't just that this huge light went on in my life. That's been in other people's lives since the day they were born, and they grew resistant to it or nonchalant to it. I think it was something else with it. And I think it was, if you haven't noticed yet, I'm a little bit on the passionate side. It is just rice candy, for goodness sakes. Now, you know that I didn't exaggerate that. Even if you didn't like it, it's like, wow, it's like smelling salts. You can't exaggerate smelling salts. That's why they're called smelling salts. How do you exaggerate the ocean? How do you exaggerate the Grand Canyon? That's one of my favorites, because you said the other day, it wasn't like looking at a picture. You sit there and it's hard to take it in because it doesn't move or anything, and it's huge and it looks like a postcard. And then you realize this is not a postcard. This is in the middle of the world, just sitting here. It's crazy. How do you exaggerate the Grand Canyon? I don't know how you exaggerate red vines. Okay? I'm convinced. You like red vines? I mean, I'm serious. When I saw that they started coming out in those tubs, like, my God, can you make it like big as a hot tub? And just, I'll live in there. I'll live in there like Oscar the Grouch, man. I'll just live in there. I mean, how do you exaggerate something that there's anything you apply to it, it applies? But some people just like go and have red vines and eat them at movie theaters and never go, oh my gosh, you tell everybody, have you ever had one of these? Oh my God, have you ever had one of these? My kids don't want to go to the movies with me. But I'm just that way. It comes pouring out. I had red vines today. What was your day like? Oh, it wasn't too bad. I had red vines. I remember when someone took me to see the Grand Canyon and they didn't tell me where we were going. We just went for a ride. And if you're on the road, it kind of just shows up too. It's like, it's not like, you know, 8,000, it's not like Disneyland. You don't see Pluto and Goofy and Daffy Duck signs for 3 hours before you get there. It's there, isn't it? You know, the Grand Canyon. Everyone here in Arizona knows it's there. Whoop-de-doo. Well, I'd never been. And someone took me for a ride. We were driving and we were talking and all this other stuff, playing with the radio, and all of a sudden they said, whoa! You took me to the Grand Canyon. I had tears in my eyes, and I was blown away. I know a lot of people see the Grand Canyon without crying, and to be honest, I've been back, and I was just fine. I got the gesture of someone taking me out and not telling me they were taking me to see one of the 7 wonders of the world. And it really was rather wonderful. I mean, I'm a city boy. I've never really gotten into anything outdoorsy. This was huge. Did you know you can ride a donkey into it? Did you know that? I didn't until that day. I'm kidding. Of course everybody knows. I was like, do you know what they're doing? You know, she's like, wow, you really don't know anything about the Grand Canyon. I don't know anything about it. It was amazing. It was amazing. How do you exaggerate something like that? Well, the Grand Canyon is really, really quite beautiful. And the donkeys just make it better. That's just crazy. There's these old animals that put up with you, and they're like, okay, I think I can, all the way down. And it doesn't cost that much money to do it. There's a hotel down there. Do you know, I think they have room service in the hotel in the Grand Canyon that you get to by donkey. Oh my gosh, crazy. You Arizonians come up with everything. Well, believe it or not, the Jesus that I met invented all that by thinking of it, by saying, wouldn't it be nice? We'll pave just a little bit of paradise and put it in a swinging hot spot. You know, and I sat there in awe because it took my breath away. Maybe if I'd known I was going, I wouldn't have reacted so much. But I thought we were going to Walmart. I didn't know. I didn't know where we were going. And all of a sudden we're at the Grand Canyon. There's mules. You know, I was like, wow, what are we doing? It's crazy. And then it hit me. That was a really thoughtful thing someone did to totally blow me away. Even if she had said, hey, I'm going to take you to the Grand Canyon tomorrow, I would have stayed up all night thinking about it and so excited. But no, the whole thing was a really sweet gesture. Then I found out a lot of other people were involved to throw me off the scent and hint at other things we were going to. I thought we were going to go see, a movie or something, the new Batman movie, to be honest. And big difference, by the way. Although the Batman movie that year was pretty good. But I'm sitting there going, gosh, that was a really nice gesture. And then I thought of the God of nice gestures. And I was humbled. Then I'm looking at the Grand Canyon, and I'm looking at this huge work of art that no matter who you are, it's humbling. You're like, wow, wow, that's huge. Then I thought of the God of huge who created it. And then, there was the animals, and they're really high on my list of blow me away about God when you look at how weird donkeys are. That was amazing, and how patient they are, and they go up and down the Grand Canyon, all those more things. But then when I realized hotel, room service, I know what heaven looks like. It's one big hotel, and you never get charged for room service. I said, this is paradise, man. This is amazing. And all of this points to the God who saved me, the God who gave me Jesus, the God who turned this huge light on in my life, the God who did all this. All of this. And I just remember my story, and it's the perfect time for it. And I remembered right then and there when someone said all this. There's a lot of old people here who will remember a TV show called The Facts of Life. I won a free dress at Savers because I knew the theme song to Facts of Life. They were having a trivia contest. If you were in the store, hi, welcome to Savers. Today's trivia question is, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and then you have what? Thank you very much. And I went across the store, and I run up to the register, and I went, the Facts of Life! And they're like, how did you know that? I said, how did you not know that? Take the good, take the bad, take them both, and then you have the Facts of Life, the Facts of Life. I watched every episode of that. And hey, one of them was on Hot in Cleveland the other day. That was crazy. Tootie, not Tootie. Who's the, oh gosh, I don't want to define her by saying she's the fat one. Who was the fat one? Who's the one? They found her at school. She wasn't even an actress. Oh my gosh, I did this whole thing where I totally know the show and I'm drawing a blank.
Valerie?
What?
Valerie?
What'd you call her?
Natalie.
No, no.
Natalie.
What?